The lawyer's office felt cold, tense, every corner humming with unspoken expectation. Faces turned toward the thick folder in his hands, hearts pounding, waiting for a reaction. The air was heavy with anticipation. Everyone assumed there would be tears, screams, or at least a flinch. Then the lawyer spoke, his voice deliberate. Everything goes to my son. A smug grin spread across his face, confident in the chaos he expected to follow. But instead, she did nothing. She simply smiled, calm, quiet, unreadable. They thought I was broken. They had no idea what that smile meant. She had built her life far from the shadows of her family, independent, smart, and quietly patient. Financially stable, with a career she had worked hard for. She prided herself on handling challenges calmly and thoughtfully. Growing up, though, it had been different. She was always the quiet one, the helper, the one who made sure everyone else looked good while her own efforts went unnoticed. Her brother, the golden child, never lifted a finger yet seemed to get all the praise and attention. Family gatherings, birthdays, and holidays had always been exercises in subtle manipulation. A compliment here, a slight jab there. Every action seemed calculated to remind her of her place. Over time, she had learned to read the cues, anticipate the passive aggressions, and hide her frustration. She didn't lash out, she waited. She observed. And yet, for all her patience, she had never expected betrayal to hit this hard. As the weight of the lawyer's words settled, she catalogued every nuance, every glance, every smirk. She understood the patterns, the manipulations, and how power had always been quietly wielded against her. I always thought family meant fairness, not deception. The room buzzed with quiet tension. Family members whispered in hushed tones, exchanging brief glances that carried more meaning than words. The polished lawyer's desk seemed heavier than usual, holding secrets and expectations that pressed down on everyone. She felt the air tighten as the envelope was opened, each movement deliberate, amplifying the suspense. Her brother leaned back casually, a smug smile playing on his lips, clearly enjoying the anticipation. He whispered something to their mother, eyes glinting with satisfaction, fully confident the outcome would favor him. Their parents, on the other hand, remained awkwardly still, careful to hide any hint of reaction. But subtle gestures betrayed their anxiety. She noticed at all the micro-expressions, the fleeting shifts in posture, the brief clenching of hands, the subtle flickers of guilt and expectation. Every silent movement was a story, a piece of the puzzle she had studied her entire life. And through it all, she remained calm, composed, a silent observer in the eye of the storm. The chaos and tension around her only sharpened her awareness and fueled the quiet strength she carried. I didn't flinch. I just watched. The lawyer's voice cut through the tense silence, deliberate and slow. All properties, accounts, and assets are granted to my son. A ripple of anticipation swept across the room. Eyes darted to her, waiting, expecting the shock, the outrage, the visible heartbreak. Her brother's grin widened, as if victory had already been claimed. He leaned back, smug and confident, savoring the moment he believed would break her composure. Their parents maintained neutral expressions, nodding politely, as though they had rehearsed every reaction, but subtle cues betrayed their tension. She noticed it all, the slight hesitation in her father's fingers, the flicker of guilt in her mother's eyes, the overconfidence in her brother's posture. Every detail told a story of years of manipulation, favoritism, and carefully orchestrated deceit. Yet outwardly, she remained perfectly composed, a calm center amid the storm. The silence she maintained was deliberate, measured, and powerful. Inside, her mind catalogued every nuance, every hint, every expectation, preparing for what she would do next. Everything I thought I knew flipped in an instant. A quiet, almost imperceptible whisper cut through the tense air. Her brother leaned toward her cousin, smirking. She'd just smile again. Like always, the words were soft, playful to anyone else, but sharp enough to sting. Their intent was clear mockery disguised as casual observation. Her parents joined in, veiling their barbs behind polite tones. It takes a lot of patience to handle things calmly, doesn't it? Her mother said, eyes glinting with thinly veiled condescension. Each comment, though coated in civility, carried the weight of expectation. subtly reminding her of her supposed role in the family hierarchy. Even younger relatives, sensing the tension, added quiet hints, sly glances, and small jabs. Every gesture reinforced the idea that she was predictable, compliant, someone who could be pushed, teased, and overlooked without consequence. Inside, her mind burned. Anger simmered just beneath the surface, a storm she carefully restrained. Every smile she gave was deliberate, controlled, masking the fire building within. She catalogued every glance, every whispered comment, every subtle attempt to undermine her. I smiled, but something inside me snapped. She said nothing. Instead, she observed. Every glance, every twitch, every whispered word was recorded silently in her mind. Her family believed her calmness was submission. But in reality, she was cataloguing years of lies, manipulation, and hidden expectations. Her brother's smug overconfidence, her parents' micro-gestures of discomfort, the lawyer's subtle smirk. Each detail revealed cracks in their assumed control. Every movement, every tone, spoke volumes about how they expected her to react. She chose silence over argument, letting their assumptions fuel their overconfidence. The room's tension became her ally. Focus on her predictable behavior only exposed them further. In that quiet, imperceptible moment, she understood one thing. Power wasn't in raising her voice or reacting immediately. It was in patience, observation, and timing. Silence isn't weakness. It's preparation. She leaned forward slightly, her voice calm, measured, yet impossible to ignore. Could you clarify this clause? She asked the lawyer, pointing to a section everyone assumed was routine. The room froze. Her words were soft, but the weight behind them revealed every hidden inconsistency. Subtle contradictions in the will became glaring under her quiet scrutiny. Her brother's confident grin faltered. Her parents' practiced neutrality wavered, guilt flickering across their faces. She didn't shout. She didn't accuse. She let the discrepancies speak for themselves, exposing the cracks in their assumed control. Each subtle correction, each pointed observation shifted the energy in the room. The calm authority she projected dominated the space, unshakable and commanding respect without raising her voice. For the first time, the family realized their manipulations could no longer hide behind charm and smugness. Every calculated smirk, every whispered expectation was now powerless against her composed clarity. I didn't need to shout. The truth spoke for itself. The room shifted instantly. What had once felt controlled now felt fragile. Voices overlapped as the family scrambled to regain balance. Her brother cleared his throat, suddenly defensive. His earlier confidence replaced with visible embarrassment. The smugness drained from his face as he realized the narrative was no longer in his control. Her parents exchanged anxious glances, their expressions tightening. Subtle guilt tactics surfaced off size. Carefully chosen words meant to pull her back into silence. Let's not make this bigger than it needs to be, one of them said, as if calm had only mattered when it served them. But the old emotional leverage didn't work anymore. She stayed still, grounded, unmoved. When she finally spoke, it wasn't to argue or explain herself. It was to set a boundary, clear, respectful, unbreakable. She made it known she would no longer accept decisions wrapped in manipulation or expectations disguised as family duty. Her dignity stayed intact because she never raised her voice. She raised the standard. The more composed she remained, the more unsettled they became. Chaos failed, guilt failed, entitlement failed, and in that quiet aftermath, one truth became undeniable. Calm beats chaos. Patience beats entitlement. She didn't wait for permission. She didn't look back for approval. When she stood up from that chair, it wasn't dramatic, it was deliberate. Every step she took toward the door felt lighter, as if she was finally setting down a weight she had carried for years. No arguments followed her. No explanations wowed. The silence behind her wasn't defeat, it was understanding. For the first time, she wasn't walking away in frustration or hurt. She was walking away in control. Outside that room, clarity replaced tension. She realized something powerful. Respect doesn't come from enduring unfairness. And peace doesn't come from pleasing everyone. It comes from knowing your worth and protecting it, even when it's uncomfortable. What happened inside that office didn't define her future. How she responded did. She didn't need revenge. She didn't need validation. Choosing herself was enough. And in that quiet moment of certainty, one truth settled deeply and permanently. For the first time, I chose myself.